You just spent $30 million building a movie theater, and every single ticket you sell tonight is about to lose you money. The popcorn is the only thing keeping the lights on. Today, you're going to find out why movie theaters barely make money selling movies at all. You'll see the real math behind ticket revenue splits, the reason a $5 popcorn bucket has a bigger profit margin than almost anything else sold in America, and how one of the biggest theater chains in the country ran the numbers that changed the entire industry forever. By the end of this video, you'll never look at a concession stand the same way again. Let's get into it. Level 1. The dream. You're 36 years old. You grew up going to the movies every single weekend with your dad, and somewhere along the way, that turned into an obsession with the business of cinema itself. After a decade working in commercial real estate, you finally take the leap. With a group of investors, you open your first multiplex, 12 screens, stadium seating, a state-of-the-art sound system, right in the middle of a growing suburban shopping district. In your head, the business model is beautifully simple. People buy tickets to see movies. You split a bit of that revenue with the studios and you keep the rest. More people, more showtimes, more money. You have absolutely no idea how wrong that is. Level 2. The first lesson. In your opening month, your business partner sits you down with the studio distribution agreements, and the numbers hit you like a wall. On a brand new blockbuster in its opening weekend, the film studio takes somewhere between 60 and 70% of every single ticket sold. Your theater, the one with the mortgage, the staff, the electricity bill, the popcorn machines keeps a shrinking slice of that, sometimes as low as 30 cents on the dollar. In the first 2 weeks a movie is out, you do the math on a packed opening night, sold-out screening. After splitting revenue with the studio, after paying staff, after covering the electricity for 12 screens running simultaneously, you're barely breaking even on tickets, sometimes not even that. You just learned the first brutal truth of the movie theater business. The movie itself is basically the bait. It's not where the real money lives. Level 3. The false sense of control. In the first few months, you focus on what feels obvious, booking the biggest blockbusters, expanding showtimes, adding a premium large format screen. Attendance climbs. Opening weekends sell out. Local reviews call your theater the best movie-going experience in the area. You feel like you've figured it out. More screenings of popular movies, more butts in seats, more revenue. Simple. You haven't figured out anything yet. You've only scratched the surface of a business that runs on an entirely different engine than the one you assumed was driving it. Level 4. The discovery that changes everything. 4 months in, your CFO walks into your office with the year's first full financial breakdown. And she doesn't waste time. She points to 2 numbers side by side. Ticket revenue for the quarter, significant. Ticket profit after the studio split, staffing and overhead, razor thin, sometimes close to nothing at all. Then she points to the second number, concessions. Popcorn, soda, candy, nachos. That revenue is smaller in total than ticket revenue, but the profit margin on it is somewhere around 85%. Because unlike box office revenue, you keep every single dollar of it. Nothing gets split with the studio. Nothing gets shared with anyone. She breaks down the popcorn specifically. A large tub costs your theater less than 50 cents to make. You sell it for around $8. That's a markup north of 1,200%, and it exists because your customers are, in her exact words, a captive audience. Nobody's sneaking snacks in from 3 doors down inside a sealed auditorium. You just learned the actual business model hiding behind the marquee. You don't run a movie theater. You run a concession stand that happens to project films to keep people in their seats long enough to buy snacks. Level 5. The real numbers. Your CFO pulls up a real-world case study she uses to train new investors, the financial breakdown of one of the largest theater chains in the country from a peak pre-pandemic year. That year, the company sold $1.8 billion in movie tickets, but had to hand back roughly $1 billion of that to film distributors as their contractual cut. Meanwhile, concessions brought in $1.1 billion and cost the company only about $181 million to deliver, an 84% profit margin. Concessions made up only around 20 to 30% of the chain's total revenue that year. But because the margins were so lopsided, Concessions generated somewhere close to 40 to 50% of the company's total profit. You sit with that number for a long moment. Movies bring people through the door. Popcorn keeps the company alive. Level 6. The operational trap. But running a physical theater is brutal in ways that have nothing to do with box office splits. You're paying rent or a mortgage on a massive building, whether every seat is full or every seat is empty. You need projectionists, ticket staff, concession workers, and cleaning crews for every single showtime on every single screen, every single day of the year, including the slow Tuesday afternoons when a theater might sell 12 tickets total for an entire showing. Add to that the cost of maintaining premium formats, laser projection systems, immersive sound technology, reclining seats that need constant mechanical upkeep, and you realize your fixed costs run 24/7. Whether or not anyone shows up to watch anything at all, your overall profit margin across the entire business, after every expense is accounted for, lands around just 4%. For an industry built on spectacle and sold-out premieres, that number is almost insultingly thin. Level 7. The case study that should have warned you. You start researching how theater chains actually collapse, and the timing couldn't be worse because you're living through it in real time. A sudden industry-wide shutdown of in-person gatherings brings ticket sales to a complete stop for months. Screens go dark. Concession stands, your single most profitable revenue stream, generate exactly $0 because there's nobody in the building to sell popcorn to. Major chains across the country file for bankruptcy protection. Others survive only by taking on enormous debt just to keep the lights technically on, betting everything on the idea that people will eventually come back through the doors once they're allowed to. You watch it happen to competitors down the street, and you understand with total clarity exactly how fragile a business becomes when its entire profit engine depends on convincing people to physically show up and stand in line for snacks. Level 8. The isolation. Streaming platforms release major films with shorter theatrical windows, sometimes hitting people's living rooms. Just weeks after a theatrical debut, attendance at your theater starts softening, not dramatically, but steadily, month over month. Your investors, who backed you expecting a business fueled by blockbuster excitement, start asking harder questions in every quarterly call. Why is a sold-out Friday night still barely profitable on tickets alone? Why does one slow month of concession sales threaten the entire quarter's numbers? You're the one in the room explaining that the movies were never really the business. The business was always the walk from the box office to the concession stand. And now, fewer people are making that walk at all. Level 9. The impossible choice. You reach a point with 3 paths in front of you, and none of them feel good. First, raise ticket prices aggressively to compensate for shrinking attendance, risking pushing even more people towards streaming at home. Second, cut down to fewer screens and consolidate showtimes, reducing your fixed costs, but also reducing the total number of concession-buying customers walking through your doors on any given night. Third, go all in on the concession side of the business. Expand the menu into full meals, alcohol service, premium loyalty programs that reward frequent concession purchases. Essentially, admitting publicly that you're not really selling movies anymore. You're selling an excuse to buy snacks in a dark room. You choose the third option. It's the path that actually reflects the real math of your business. It's also the moment you stop thinking of yourself as someone who runs a cinema and start thinking of yourself as someone who runs a food service company that happens to show films. Level 10. The real cost. The theater survives. Concession revenue climbs as you introduce a full bar and a wider food menu. Loyalty members spend noticeably more per visit than walk-in customers. Your quarterly numbers, for the first time in a while, look genuinely healthy. But personally, you understand something no film school or business program ever prepared you for. The theater you built to celebrate the magic of movies became, in practice, a snack company, using cinema as the delivery mechanism to get people to sit still for 2 hours in the dark. Not because you stopped loving movies, but because the actual economics of this industry never left you any other realistic way to survive. Level 11. The cycle. Years later, you read about a young film lover turned entrepreneur, raising capital to open a brand new independent theater, promising in every interview to bring back the magic of cinema and put the movies first. He genuinely believes he's entering the business of showing films to people who love them. He has no idea he's about to inherit a business where the movie is the bait, the popcorn is the product, and an empty concession stand is far more dangerous to his survival than an empty seat. He thinks he knows what he's getting into. He doesn't. If this changed the way you look at that $9 popcorn bucket next time you're at the movies, that's exactly the point. Subscribe and hit the bell, because next week we're breaking down another business that isn't what it looks like from the outside. New POV every week. See you in the next one.